All right.
Yeah.
Well, Sidney, glad to have you here. Josh, a few housekeeping items at the top of the hour.
Go ahead.
Right now, we are broadcasting in gallery view, so all six of us are going out. It looks really good. So if you want to shift the focus to Sidney or leave it in gallery view, either option is fine. And Josh, you're doing a great job coordinating. I wish I had you all day, but I know it's late on your side of the world. And we'll get rolling into Sidney whenever you're ready. Are you good with gallery? Or you want to do the focus thing? It's up to you.
I'll do both. So I think I figured that out. So we're happy to go ahead with that. Just in terms of a little bit of housekeeping things, this is the Wada Marathon Live. We're discussing all number of issues to do with how people came to Wada, their stories, and what they see for the future of Cardano and Africa. So if you have questions, please leave them in the chat. If you want to come on the show, or if you're a first 50 Wada Foundation member, please get in touch and we'll get you up to participate. So yeah, for the next half hour, we have Sidney talking about AfroFinLab, about Cardano, and about Africa, really, maybe, the next transformation or the next stage in African development. So Sidney, please, wherever you want to start.
Yeah, so I guess I'll start where all of this kind of started from. We were at the summit last year, a bunch of us, and in the chat room, I was just looking for people that were interested in what was going on, in the diaspora and going on the continent. Because what I recognized in the blockchain space over the past couple of years is that there really wasn't a whole bunch of diversity that was occurring. So there are people that were building this remarkable technology, but there weren't enough perspectives, in my opinion. So I put it in the chat in the summit. And James was the first person that reached out, was like, "Hey, what's up? Yeah, let's do it." And then we had some other folks that joined us as well. Of course, Josh Josh Akpan presented at the conference. So I reached out to Josh. Josh got back to me, and then we started this kind of collaboration. It was just a bunch of folks who kind of resonated with each other. We were kind of on the same wavelength about what was going on with the technology. We were on the same length about what was going on, I think, in the African American community and how we wanted to help. And so we started some conversations there. And then out of those conversations, there were a lot of really cool projects that emerged, WADA being an excellent project. So it started off with about four of us. And over time, other folks were, and I'm talking specifically about AfroFinLab. Other folks came into the fold. We got a chance to meet Mercy, and then there was a whole bunch of other folks that came in, really excited about what we were doing over at AfroFinLab. And like I say, from there were a lot of projects that kind of spun off from that, and they're all doing really well right now. So I'm really happy to hear what's going on with how WADA is progressing. The growth, the ideas, the vision, just everything about it is really exciting, and it seems like the perfect time for these ideas to start coming to the forefront. So yeah, I'm really excited to meet, to be here with everybody. And Josh, you and I, we've had some really fun conversations, about lots of really cool things, everything from from blockchain to the esoteric. And then of course, Rick, you coming on the show and us having an opportunity to have a really good conversation there. So yeah, it's really been good, and I'm excited to just see the pace and the amount that's been done with WADA so far.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, we have Osh, who's just made an appearance, but now muted. Osh was the creative from Nigeria that couldn't make the earlier presentation, so he's just dropped in the chat now, but we will continue. So yeah, that's a great summary of where AfroFinLab started, how we all come to be connected, and so on. So I think we can maybe go right into it. We love jumping in at the deep end, don't we? So we can
Yeah.
say what has been going on with Africa, and and can it change? Can we really be part of that change? And if so, what do we need to do?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's happening. It's just, I think it's it's an idea that found its time. This has been something that's going on for decades now. I mean, as far as what's happening specifically in Africa, in my opinion, it was like what we're experiencing today on the continent and even off the continent. Started with the Pan-Africanists back in the 1960s, really, with Kwame Nkrumah, and there was a basically a organization of heads of state that came together to try to figure out what was going on. And at that time, colonialization still kind of had its claws a little bit, kind of deeper into Africa. And so they were trying to identify what are ways for us to emerge as a kind of a self-sovereign unit where we can govern ourselves. And the conclusion that they came to was that it would happen through economy, through a marketplace, through a marketplace that number one, was a marketplace that consisted of the entire continent. And number two, a marketplace where kind of the African family could go to the world as one complete unit. So in my opinion, there's been a drumbeat of that for the last several decades. And it came to a head really this year, in January of January 1st of 2021, which I personally believe was the biggest event that has happened since since colonization and slavery. In my opinion, there may be others, but just based on what I know, I think it's the biggest event that has happened, which is the launching of the African Continental Free Trade Area, which lowers a lot of the barriers that have been artificially put in place on the continent. Which allows many of the different countries in Africa to start putting in the rules of the game, basically, for trading with each other, and growing the economy of the continent. And actually, when that event happened, it created the largest economic bloc by number of countries in the world. So there's a lot to be excited there. Not to mention Africa, I think, has 5 of the fastest growing economies in the world. It's got the youngest economy in the world, and the folks in Africa are a lot of the younger folks in general are hungry for change, hungry uh, for the next step, the next evolution. And I personally believe that this blockchain technology, which is going to kind of distribute value in a different way, is going to be a great way for the African to stand on the world stage. And I think what's important for the world to know is, like, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. There's a lot of value to be provided there. There is, in my opinion, I think it'll be a really good thing for the entire world. So what Wada is doing is facilitating, some of those inroads that are getting started, whether it's on the ground with helping people, educating people about the new technology and about what's coming for us in the future, and then also connecting, which I think is a very, very important piece, is connecting the continent with the diaspora, because I grew up in the diaspora as a descendant of a slave, or slaves, because both on both my mom and my dad's side, their descendants were slaves. So, and I live in the Metro Detroit area, and I grew up in the Metro Detroit area, and there can be a lot of things that go on that make people wonder, like from just things that are not healthy, things that would not be healthy for any human being. And I came to the conclusion at some point that there's nothing really that we're going to, being taught our history and understanding the true contribution of the African continent to the entire world is probably the most important thing to happen to Africans in the diaspora in order to bring them out of the kind of the sleep that they've been in. It's just, it's a pride, it's an understanding, it's a truth that's necessary. in order to, help people understand where they came from so that they can know where they're going. And right now in the US, we haven't really made it to that point yet, and we still are just trying to find our way. But I sincerely believe that until we uh, you know remember, in a sense, who we are, where we came from, and our contribution, and allow ourselves to go there and continue to contribute to the world and the global, not only economic, in an economic fashion, but also in a social fashion, and all other types of ways. We're just going to kind of be floating around a little bit. So that's what kind of that's what excites me about what Wada is doing. That's really one of the things that, I know people are going to get super wealthy, and they're going to have big bags, and kind of grow, and all of those types of things. But for me, it's fundamental, kind of an issue of how do we lift ourselves up, because I have a lot of people that I love very deeply who grew up in the communities that I grew up in, and they didn't have the kind of the resources or the opportunities that I had. So, but they're all wonderful people, and I just think it's time for them to be able to participate in the world economy, and feel comfortable about reaching out for their goals, just like every other culture on the planet. So yeah.
Wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful. That's a great overview that we had there. And I will just say, we talked briefly about Africa and everything going on the continent, and it's a big question, so you handled that very well. I think it will be a good idea if we start to break that down a little bit. So maybe talk a little bit about crypto. So we at AfroFinLab, we try and make this crypto nonsense make sense. So how about if we were speaking to the average African person who is not that knowledgeable, what would you say to them about Cardano or about crypto that would really get them interested, do you think?
Yeah, I think the way that I kind of think about it is it's an opportunity, really, at the end of the day. Crypto itself, in my opinion, is just an evolution of money. Long time ago, there used to be the barter system. The barter system cannot support a modern civilization. It's still a great concept. In small communities, you can barter and things are fine. But the complexity of our, how we live today, our society today, can't be supported by the barter system. And neither can, in my opinion, the economic of the system, the economic system of the future, be supported by traditional fiat currency. So, in my opinion, part of this is just an evolution of money. There's so many things that are changing. Not only do we have crypto here now, but we have artificial intelligence, robots. There's so much that's kind of coming our way right now, and the way that the current financial system is constructed, it can't support the myriad of transactions that are about to occur. All kinds of transactions. Whether these are transactions of selling and buying, goods and services, or transactions of one of the technologies inside of crypto is a technology that allows you to basically. See, this is where it starts. Crypto it starts to get a little technical. But just kind of in a general sense, I think I'll kind of leave it there about the transactions and those things starting to change, and there needing to be a technology that represents those transactions, because they're going to be a lot different than what they are today. And that's what crypto is. Crypto is part of what crypto is to me. It's of course the decentralization of money. So it's removing the third party. So majority of the way that business happens today is that there's typically a third party, or more than one third party, that sits in between the buyer and the seller, and they kind of take their pieces of the pie as the transaction moves through. And that function is, in a sense, being replaced by cryptocurrency. and it's just going to make things a lot more, a lot smoother, and yeah, just a lot more efficient. So there's the decentralization of the cryptocurrency, of the financial world. So we're kind of taking the middleman out, and then there's the efficiency that's occurring as a result of these crypto protocols being able to support many transactions. So it's an exciting space. I'm just blown away. Cardano is my is like the protocol that I have looked at and compared to other protocols that I like the way that they build. I like the process that they use to build. I know that the market is kind of forcing them to get things out a lot faster than they would like to have them out a lot faster. But I like the pace that Cardano is building at, because basically what they're doing is they're creating something substantial. They're creating something that's going to stand the test of time. They're thinking through it, and they're thinking from first principles, from the beginning, building from the bottom all the way up in order to support this new financial system that's coming our way. So yeah, I'm really excited about what Cardano is doing. I think it's a remarkable protocol. The folks that have all of the folks that have participated, from Charles, of course, from all of the engineers over at IOG and Emergo, Emergo, and the way that the foundation has matured and continued to grow. I just think that once Cardano is fully live, and we're running smart contracts, we have some dApps on the platform, that it's going to show itself superior. And so I'm glad to that that I met Wada through the Cardano, what Cardano is doing, because I think that everything that Wada wants to do, the rails that are in place are going to support everything that goes on. So yeah, that's probably, I mean, a little bit of a convoluted
No, it was a
explanation of
great answer.
crypto,
It
but
was it was a great
yeah,
answer, and
yeah.
it brings us very well into Wada and everything that we're doing in terms of the rails you talked about. So the way we had it is, we had Africa, very high level overview.
Mm-hmm.
We've then gone through crypto and why the average person in Africa should care about it. I think now if we talk about Wada and how that whole system is working through a Wada structure of organization, can you talk a little bit on maybe the network aspect of a system like this, and how that would look, and even maybe a bit of the marketing that might be involved in a process where you're bringing in hubs, you're bringing in projects, you're bringing in investment, so
Mm-hmm.
many different areas and systems we're working with.
Mm-hmm.
How does that look to you at the moment?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, if
Mm-hmm.
you can give us any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think what I love most about what Wada is doing is they're not up here. You know what I mean? They're not way up here, because there's some other projects out there that are seeking to do things, specifically blockchain projects that are seeking to do things in Africa. I think what I like about what's going on with Wada is this focus on the ground. Like building these hubs in communities and having a communication with the folks on the ground, to figure out what potential problems are cropping up there, and what problems the protocols or Cardano specifically, but what problems can be fixed there. And I just the team at Wada, everyone that I've been able to meet so far, and even the folks that I haven't been able to meet yet, it's just I think it's a really great team. I mean, I love, and Mercy and I have had these conversations before. The vision is just a wonderful vision, and I told Mercy early on that I absolutely support that vision, and I want to be a part of that vision, because that's something that really resonates with me. And then Josh, what you've been doing over the last months or weeks, man, has been off the charts. It's like it's amazing to watch you. You're like a robot or something. The way that you can manage things, and the way that you keep things on track, and the way that you keep things moving forward. And then there's the other folks that I've met on the team that are just brilliant. They're just brilliant, and things take time. Things take time. There's going to be bumps in the road, right? And you keep moving. You keep the vision. And you if you hold the vision, it has no choice but to manifest. The problem with a lot of folks that get involved in, I think, projects sometimes, because you're going to hit bumps in the road. That's the whole point. The whole point are really the bumps in the road, because what they do is they refine your idea. They bring you to the final conclusion. There's nobody who's created anything worthwhile that didn't have resistance. So yeah, I love what Wada's doing. I love that these hubs are being built on the ground. I love that I get to participate in it, and be a part of the change. And I'm continually looking at ways to uh, uh, um, understand Wada and what Wada is becoming, so I can properly explain it to people in my local community, because these are people that have no crypto experience. They have no crypto experience at all, and at the same time, they don't know that this organization Wada is working to better their current situation. You know what I mean? If they're looking for betterment in their situation, as far as how as far as dealing with um, you know what they look like here in this country. And I think that WADA is going to just kind of bridge that, or be one of the organizations that help to bridge that gap. And like I said at the beginning, I think there's this idea that it's a scary thing, or it's a bad thing. But I think what the world has to understand is that I personally believe that it's a really good thing. And just this idea of coming together with this new technology, and using it to lift the folks on the continent and in the diaspora, and connect them together. I think that is a good thing for the world, and I think that will bring a new kind of spirit, a new type of creativity, a new way of thinking, that will benefit everybody on the planet. So again, I'm just very excited to be a part of what you guys are doing. And the other folks that were, have spun off projects from AfroFinLab. Very excited to have those relationships as well.
Right. And we'll definitely close with a little bit about AfroFinLab. But before we do that, I think we've reached to really the ground level, as you said, right? We've seen the vision, we've seen, everything and the passion, but really it's the practical work that we need Absolutely. To get sorted. So one of the conversations we always have, Sidney, is what is the product? What is the product of Wada? And where are we starting with that? So yes. If you just wanted to sort of finish up on your thoughts on what our product is so far in terms of the consultancy angle we're going for as a starting position, and what you think about that. I think that would be key in sort of tying this all together.
Yeah. Had a good conversation over the past couple of days with Manfo. And the consultancy, I think oh my God, there's such an opportunity for that, to go out and help, folks at the enterprise level, and on the ground, at the enterprise level, understand how to integrate this new technology into what it is that they're doing, so that they can stay alive. Then on the ground level, to to be able to work with people to architect new solutions, to solve their problems, whether these are financial problems, or whether these are problems that stem from not having the financial resources in your community. So consulting is in my opinion, there's a huge opportunity. It's going to be amazing to see Wada move forward and put together some frameworks and some ways of working with people to understand how to architect solutions for whatever problems they're experiencing, whether again it's at the enterprise level, or if it's on the ground level, and being able to start down the road of solving the problems architecting the solution to the problem, and then at some point getting to implementation. And then the education piece, huge. Being getting people started training on using and developing the technology is going to be huge in so many different ways. Not only them being able to start to think in a way to solve their own solve problems in their own communities, but also to start leading the world in some or to start down the road of getting the education so that and I think about it this way a lot is I think different people think different ways. So you have different cultures that through their cultural influences approach problems in different ways. So you might have folks that live in the US approaching folks and approaching a solution different than folks that live in China or that live in Japan, or what I mean. It's just cultural influences impact how we think about the solution to our problems. And I think the same way about the African. I think that there's a way that the African thinks, you know what I mean? And instead of being, one-upping, the Westerner kind of thing, you know what I mean? That they can get to a place where like the thoughts that come through them are reflected in the technology moving forward. And that's really what I see. And I think that's one of the most exciting things about it for me is I think that once, the African kind of gets a hold of this technology and feels comfortable in their own creative thought, without any limits, because they didn't go to school or didn't, whatever, you know what I mean? They're not thinking like these other people. I think there's going to be some really, really cool things that come out of that. And that's something that I'm really excited to see.
Wonderful, wonderful. I think that was a great summary, and we covered a lot in this brief time. So I think we can finish up with a little bit about AfroFinLab and maybe your plans or where people can find it and contact you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we started AfroFinLab, and a few months back there were some changes for me that kind of pulled me away from it. And I still haven't gotten back to it. I'm kind of inching back up to it. It's not happening as fast as I'd like. But AfroFinLab is really a mouthpiece for these conversations to continue forward. My focus, of course, is on the continent and the diaspora. And so I guess it would happen in sort of an order. I mean, I'm in the diaspora, so I guess it would be the diaspora first, the continent, and then kind of the rest of the world. So we just want to educate folks on the opportunity over at AfroFinLab, which all of us are the AfroFinLab family. We just want to educate folks on what the technology is and how to just how to think about it in a way that they can participate in it. It's awesome, and a lot of people who have Cardano are going to do really, really, really well, and I think that's awesome. But it's way beyond that. It's really more so about how can we think about this technology in a way that solves our own problems, because the future isn't here yet. We're creating it. So it's not something that's happening, like it's not happening to us. It's something that we get to mold. So I'm excited to continue the conversation and have more folks come on interviews, come on AfroFinLab, and we can talk about what is this future, and and when I say what is this future, I mean what are we designing? Because at the end of the day, this is not something that has happened. This is something that we're creating, and if we're deliberate about it, we can really solve a lot of the problems that have plagued us for a long period of time. But it's us, you know what I mean? We get to decide what the future looks like.
Yeah, wonderful. And we'll drop a link for the website below in the chat. We'll also be very pleased to host a couple of AfroFinLabs on Wada's YouTube channel and the podcast we're creating, and have you on as a guest and even a host in the future. So once again, from all of us here at Wada, thank you, Sidney, for supporting us and giving us advice along the way. And we're so much looking forward to what this can become with
as am I. Yes, as am I. Good to see everyone.
Thanks, Sidney.
All right.
Thank you, Sidney.
Yeah, for sure.
Sidney.
Okay. Yeah, good seeing you.
Right.